Hello, everyone. Welcome to our third webinar of a series discussing today on how we add graphics to newly created boxes on the Boxtinow website. Let's go ahead and log in today. My name is Kerry Drake, your host. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions about our space or would like to have more information about the product, please let us know at any time. We'd be glad to assist. Let's go ahead and log into the system. As I mentioned, today we're going to be discussing about the graphics capability of Boxtinow. Primarily, in the last webinar, we talked about resizing cartons, and I want to run through the basics again really quick for those new to the process. Boxtinow offers 160 unique designs, industry standard designs in many cases, to you users to be able to go in and quickly resize boxes. And we've organized those in simple categories of display parts, slotted containers. For a lot of you new to the industry, the real terminology used in what those packages and products are called today. If we go grab a category, we can quickly open it. You can see your choice of many selections. You'll recognize a lot of these styles being used out in the marketplace today. You simply go in and select the style, and Boxtinow allows you to go in and quickly resize the structure and the whole shape of that design. And as we've mentioned earlier, when you do this creation, all the files that you're able to create are industry standard files that can go right out to a manufacturer or printer. Today's topic, though, is primarily about graphics, and we want to walk you through kind of the process. You know, when it comes to graphics on packaging, the resources can get pretty widespread. A lot of you might be professional artists who create artwork in the Adobe products. For some of you who just want to create basic conceptual art, a lot of those items can be grabbed right off the internet. So totally up to you. I'm going to go through the basics of the types of files that we're using and how they can be applied and actually implemented into the system. So the very first thing we'd want to do is when you've created your carton style is to save your design. And Boxtinow will prompt you to where you want to save that in the area we call My Boxes. We're going to call this the test air cell. We'll save it and make that available for later use. So as if you remember, the functionality of Boxtinow allows you not only to create the box design, but all those files that you'll traditionally use in the development process. So if I go up to the top tab here, I see the 3D view. I see the studio view, which is the one we'll be dealing with today. This is the outside view of the carton. And these little green lines here indicating the scores that are required for the carton to fold and unfold. A CAD drawing, a detailed drawing, the basic specifications, if you will, of the design. A full interactive 3D that we'll show you in a little bit once we get our graphics in place. And then a full screen share if you'd like to do that as well. So traditionally what I like to do is create a folder for the graphic files we'll be working with. And very simple to do. We want to come into what we call the Media Manager. For you registered users, you've probably already experimented in this space. And you can see I have quite a bit of artwork up here already. I'm going to add a folder. And we'll call this the Graphics Demo folder. Okay. We'll create that, which automatically saves. There it is. And we're going to select it, click it to open it. As you can see here right now, we don't really have any files in the folder at this point in time. So as I mentioned, these assets can come from anywhere. For the pros, you might have logos out there, information that you might already have existing, could be photographs, could be artwork, logos, whatever. And there are some tricks of the trade as far as those files in preparation. If you're a pro and want to print those files, there's certain things you need to know about how to go about implementing those files so they print properly. So down here in the right-hand corner, you'll see before we import what files Boxtinow likes to have to actually be able to implement with its technology. So first of all, the JPEG. And you'll find that most of the files laying out on the web, if you do a right click on an image off the internet, most of the time those files are either going to be JPEG or PNG files. So with Boxtinow, we prefer a JPEG or, as I mentioned, a PNG file. And for the technical users out there, a file we call an SVG. SVG is basically a high-res PostScript file, very similar to an Illustrator file, one that contains technical data. So when that image is brought into the system, if you make it much larger, it will always print in the appropriate fashion. So that's a preferred file format if you plan on doing some high-res printing, graphic printing, or export in a larger format on some of your packaging. And for a lot of you pros out there, this is a standard thing that you do every day. So I've downloaded some files, just pulled those off the web and enter those into my desktop. All you have to do is simply drag and drop those files over to the window down here where it says drop files to upload. And you can grab quite a few at one point in time. And at that point, you see a little thumbnail view of the image up above. Let's do and again, unlimited assets. Here's a color swatch for an example that I might want to use on my carton. We'll load it. It's a pretty good size file. Some photography, logos, as I mentioned. I've actually created a couple of SVG vector logos here. You won't be able to see them very well because they're white, but I'm going to drag that one over as well. So that's artwork basically. It is appearing, but it is white on white, so you really can't see it in the preview mode. So anything you really need or want to deploy to make sense for your prototype or whatever you want to build, we'll start with these simple images and we'll kind of go to the next step. So I've now got those laying in my folder called Graphics Demo in what we call the Media Manager, as I mentioned earlier. So now we're going to go back to my boxes and we're going to pull up a design. Let's see here. Let's find a design that we can pop up, maybe one that we saved earlier. Here it is. Here's that one that we saved a little bit ago. As you see, your boxes are created in a list in folders, and all I have to do to bring that image back up is to click this little button over here on the right, and it allows me to bring it back to life from where I left it off earlier when we saved the box. So I'm going to go open in Box Editor, and we are right back where we started in the actual design engine, if you will. And there's that carton style. Now, if we want to start applying graphics, so right now we're working in 3D, we need to highlight the studio view. As I mentioned earlier, the studio view is the exterior of the box, where when you were entering your dimensions earlier in the CAD view, you were actually entering in the interior dimensions. Boxtinow compensates for the thickness of the material to create this CAD drawing, technical CAD drawing that can be produced on a cutting table or whatever. So let's go back to our studio view. And then the next thing I need to do is go over to where we say apply graphics. Now, several options in this category right here that pretty well cover the gambit. For you professional artists, we have a way for you to actually apply an existing piece of artwork. So you might have downloaded one of the residing files in Boxtinow, especially the EPS file or the die line, taken that into Illustrator and actually built high-res production graphics. Boxtinow allows you to go click this button, choose that graphic, and actually marry the CAD and the structure, or the graphic and the structural design together to preview that in 3D. It's a great way to do some soft proofing for you pros out there who typically don't get to see your box folded up until it's completed or run off the press. Today we're going to be talking about the My Graphics section, though, primarily, and that's where we just stored those short files that we had earlier. We also provide some standard graphics in the system, typically things that you see out there in the industry, barcodes, weather, transportation, maybe some recycling shapes or whatever logos. And again, for the conceptual process, just to be able to give you some images that are in position that you can show on your carton for retail or whatever. We also enable you to add some basic text. We've got about 15 fonts down there that you can use. You can change the color, convert to bold or italic. We'll be doing a little bit of that here in a minute. And an option for color. So we could have used that color swatch that we loaded earlier on this box we're going to create today. But in this case, we might could even go down to the box color button where you'll see the color wheel, where we can simply grab a color and change the entire background of the design at any point in time, any way we want it to. So let's get rid of that. We also then, for you pros as well, have the option, and a lot of these packages that we're dealing with today are traditionally made in what we call the craft substrate, which is basically that brown shipping container that you see all the time. And again, those lines indicate those score lines that are part of that fold-up process. Now, when we finish our design, we'll be able to toggle those off and on so they don't show before we print the item. Okay, we're going to make that box white again. All right, so let's go up to my graphics tab right now, and we'll scroll down, and we'll see a lot of that information that we were working with earlier. And we'll go all the way down to the one that says graphics demo. And that's the ones that we just created earlier. So quickly, I have a reference to those images that we dropped into the folder. And you see here's that SVG logo that we talked about earlier, which is that outline, that technical outline file that we can basically make any shape or size with a guarantee that it's going to print well. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and we'll drag some of these images over. So we'll make this a bourbon box, let's call it. So you'll notice when the graphic comes over, it's basically a drag and drop process. I can resize the image. If I hold down my shift key, it will, while I'm dragging these corner bars, it actually will constrain the properties of that image, very much like any paint program or an Illustrator. So let's go in here. I'm gonna, this little round shape to the right enables me to rotate the element. Again, if I hold down the shift key, it will give me approximate angles to use. So I can toggle it on exacting angles of degree. So let's put that bottle right there in the middle. Let's do this. Let's drag a couple more color images over. Maybe we want this to appear on the back. Here's some bourbon barrels. Try to make this as colorful as we can. So again, I'm going to drag that carton up here. I'm going to change the constraints here a little bit. And we'll put that on each end panel. Okay. At any time you want to see a preview of what you've been working on, you can quickly go up and click the 3D button and see it in real time. This is a really cool feature. And don't forget to double click enables you to go fold and unfold again to see what your carton is going to look like and appear. Now I've put a color swatch up here, but let's go back to our color tab and let's choose a color for the entire background of the box. So I'm going to go back to our color settings. Let's go grab a color. So here's a general slide bar for color mode. So let's go find a really nice warm color. Okay. And bam, there we go. So we've got a now background image over the color image. Okay. So let's go back up and now we'll go look at that, look for that color file that we just used, or the graphic logo file that we just used. And I'll show you how that works. So that's that SVG file. Now, when an SVG file is prepared, that typically has to be done in Illustrator, where you go and actually outline the text or the font. Now, you'll notice when we drag it over, it's beautiful because it actually will show the background image through the design. So there's those tabs we were talking about. Let's make this a little larger, and we'll spin this around. Okay, make it a little bit smaller here. Okay, so there's our Diarego whiskey carton. Let's go up here and take another look. Beautiful. So again, very fast, efficient way to create prototypes. I'm going to add the logo here a couple more times. And again, as custom and as detailed as you want to get. Let's put a logo here. That's the side panel of our carton. Put one over here. Looking good. There we go. Okay, so there's a basic layout. We've got a bottle image on there. Again, enough to possibly get you going, if you will, with a comp with some basic information to show the rest of your team or whatever. We could come back in here and add, let's add the bottle to these side panels as well to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay. Again, very quick and easy to start laying your ideas and concepts out. Let's look at it in 3D. Looks great. Okay. Also a great way to again, look at soft proof to say, okay, well, you know, we're looking at this thing flat, but my customer might not want this item to be cut off. So we can determine exactly what point we want that visual cut off. In this case, I can still see the type at the bottom, and on the top panel, I can see the brand name. Make very incremental changes very quickly, not have to worry about, you know, going back and forth from proof to proof to go through that process. So let's go back here. Let's go back to the studio view. Let's add some basic line of text. Go down to our text engine. And I'm just going to add the terminology 16 ounce. There it appears. You notice it just quickly comes into the scene. Let's change that into something a little bit more dramatic. And we'll make that text white. There it is. And again, there's italic. Basic tool just for general application, key information, things that you want to emphasize or put on the box. Let's do that. Let's put a little space in between here. Okay. There we go. There's our 3D view. Looking good. So again, a prototype within, 4 to 5 minutes time, we're up and running. I'll now go save that design. Actually saved it in my boxes category. So we can come back later at any time and add any customization that we might want to in that process. So we might find that, once a few parties have seen the appropriate type, gotten a kind of a feel for what they wanted, they might come back and say, well, gosh, we'd really like to be able to add some more visuals to this. Can we put an actual image of a glass here? And we could have uploaded that in our segment as well. So let's go in here on one of these side panels, and we'll add an actual picture of the product in use, if you will. Okay. So again, being able to constantly modify, add changes, whatever. We might decide to come in here and add a text or a copy block somewhere based on what the user might reference, and keep adding to it as we go along to make it even more polished. Again, saving that as we make progressions to be able to show the team. So at that point in time, if we've done our homework properly, for you pros, we've actually created a printable comp now, or a full-size mock-up that could be sent out to a digital printer for proofing. Also, the potential to do some other things, as we mentioned in the previous webinar, to actually email these files now to any end user, along with these all these file types. So PDF, CAD file, cutting table file, the die line, another CAD file. And then this is kind of really really cool is at the very end, if you want to show your design that we just pulled up in the 3D form like this, I can simply go down to here where it says share a link. So I can send my design to literally anyone just by using their email address. So let's do this. I'm going to send it to myself. I'll click share a link. And when I do that, oops, I forgot to do one thing. And this is what we talked about earlier. Before I save that, you'll notice that little green line in that indicates the scores. Let's go delete that. So we're going to go back to apply the graphics. We're going to go down to color settings. And if you remember right there where it says show the scores, we'll hide those. And again, quickly see the resolve. We've eliminated those little color sky. Looks like I've got a visual problem here too. I've got this appearing. I didn't expect that. So again, here's the perfect example of how common mistakes are made in some of these package designs. I want to keep that out of here. Let's put it back on this panel. So again, visual reference. Let's see what we look like. Perfect. So very cool way to go look at your art again in 3D. Not many packages out there allow you to actually go see what the preview is going to look like on your carton before it's printed, and especially as it's folded up in the process, which is just an awesome feature. So as I mentioned, then we'll go share that file. Let's save the file to update it. And now we're going to go back to share file, type the email address. I'll share the link. I'll send an update. And now in my email, I'll receive a link. And that link actually takes me right back to a view like this, where I get to actually see the design that I've created for my user to go preview. So for you sales reps out there, a phenomenal tool to do some prospecting. For you project managers, we're giving you the ability to create a prototype on your own very quickly, even if it's just getting across some of the key points that you want to try to perceive to your group. And again, the ability to come in, re-pull that up in process. You guys could be online together. Maybe the comment from the room is, hey, we'd really like to make the bottle just a little bit smaller. So we'll go do that. Let's go. We'll bring that bottle down just in size here, just a tad. Let's make it just a little bit smaller so we don't interrupt the font. There we go. Again, quickly be able to 3D the view. So I kind of like the first one better, but anyway, we can save that version as well now too. Another very cool trick that we offer you is the ability to actually do live updates. This is kind of a little bonus feature. So here we are in our active rotation window. Let's go back to Studio. I'm going to open a new window now that actually enables you to see the box. That was our preview view. And what's cool about that is we can make incremental changes now. Notice if we drag this around, it actually provides a live update on the 3D file. So let's say we want to make this a little bit larger. Fill the page, maybe change it proportionally. Let's go edge to edge. And there we go. So very cool ways to create comps very quickly. Again, for you brand managers, you folks out there who never get a chance to do this, Boxtinow provides a very simple way for you to expedite your concepts when it comes to your next package design. So that about wraps it up for today. I want just to remind you, if you haven't already registered, you can watch several of our tutorials here. We're very reasonable. Our professional level is basically $60 per month. If you, maybe 2 or 3 of your team members want to sign up, It's $45 a month for 3 or more. And again, that gives you unlimited access to the system. And we'll actually put that on your credit card and just take it out of your credit card payment every month to make it quite simple. Again, my name is Kerry Drake. Thanks for your time today. We look forward to seeing you next time. If you have any questions or if you are considering Boxtinow for our enterprise view or enterprise version, if you would like to see your own or create your own version of Boxtinow for your company's website, please hit the Contact Now button on the web, and we'll be glad to get back to you. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day.